Hi, in this video I am going to help you to understand the lesson called Silk Road written by Nick Middleton. This is one of the prose pieces prescribed for the CBSC students for 11th standard, and I have prepared every bit and single pieces of answers for every question, and I'm just going to discuss with you and going to show you the answers also that I had prepared for the same. Now, before I would show you the printed material that I have prepared as the answers, I would like to discuss with you or to share with you the summary of the lesson Silk Road. Silk Road is nothing but the road in earlier stages that was used as a trade pathway or trade route for those who were engaged themselves or who engage themselves in many trades, especially silks. And here the author is, the narrator is very much of in touch with the Silk Road because his intention of selecting the Silk Road is to take a journey, rather a pilgrimage to Mount Kailash. The reason for that is he had already made up his mind that he would like to complete the kora. Now, what is kora? Kora is the walking or going through difficult steps, a way of pilgrimage to reach Mount Kailash in order to get the blessings of God. Maybe the author or the narrator might have prayed or pledged or made a resolution that he would go to Mount Kailash one day and complete the kora so that all his mistakes or sins that he had committed would be removed by the God by visiting this place, Mount Kailash. Now, this Mount Kailash is actually situated in Tibetan Himalayas. Tibetan Himalayas. Now, you would understand the height of Himalayas is, you could have studied in the prose pieces earlier on about the climbing of the Mount Everest. See? And here, of course, this particular route is actually used by many traders for their business. And of course, the road was sometimes, in fact, very rough. And as you travel or as you climb on the mountains, the climate would become cold, chill, and it will be covered with snow. So the narrator, Nick Middleton, decides to travel to Mount Kailash through Silk Road by a car. And he prefers to travel along with two of his friends. One is the driver, another one is his friend. The name of his friend is Daniel. Okay. And then the man who helps him in driving the car is named as Tsetan, Tsetan, Tsetan. And it is this driver suggests the narrator that it would be better if they took the Silk Road, the southwest of the place, which would take to Mount Kailash very easily. And he also tells them in the beginning, if the place is very clear, if that was not covered by snow, the journey would be easier. But that is the shortcut to reach Mount Kailash without much difficulties. So the narrator agrees to what the driver says, and they begin to travel to Mount Kailash through Silk Road. Now, before they actually started their journey, the friend of the narrator, one woman, and she presents the narrator a coat, a strong coat, sheepskin coat, because she knows that the place that they are going to visit would be very cold, and his friend, the narrator, and her friend, the narrator, might find it very chill and might even get into difficulties of affected by cold and chillness. So she presents him, and this lady is, of course, was a close friend of the author, as you read in the book there, and he accepts it and then takes the coat along with him, but it is not said that whether he wore the coat while he was traveling or not. So they proceed, they go to Mount Kailash traveling through Silk Road by a car, and Tsetan is a very, very efficient and known driver for the place. So he travels safely, at the same time fast. So as they reach the climate of 5,000 feet already. So as they reach, they come across a group of tribes there. And as they reach that place there, they witness a pasture where there are a lot of sheep looked after by the shepherds, and then their tents are watched by one of the dogs, which is known as Mastiffs, Tibetan Mastiffs. And you would come to know the names of those dogs, and they look very fearful and terrible to look at. So they didn't allow, the dog did not allow these three men to pass through them. Actually, you would read, when you go through the story, you would read that as soon as the dog sees these three men traveling by a car, the dog actually comes towards the car and starts barking, and they were frightened. But the dog does not attack and going and no disturbing them in the car there. So what does it usually do? It goes and comes barking again and again. So after some time it stops, and then they pass through. So as they go along the road, the name of the place before, what is known as Dachan, the place comes there where his friend Daniel gets down, because that is where his native place. He gets down from the car and then takes a lift from one of the passers-by, and he goes along his way. Now only two are left alone. Who are they? The driver, Tsetan, and then the narrator. Now they pass through, they travel, and they reach the height of about 5,115 feet height. So the snow becomes very strong. The climate is very chill. Unfortunately, the car is punctured, and the driver, he goes and looks for the place and gets a mechanic to come and repair the car and get the puncture fixed. So in the meantime, the narrator gets down and then goes to a small cafe, local cafe. He takes a cup of tea, which makes him a little bit better. And then after the car is being fixed, the tire has been fixed, both of them just continue their journey. So as they go along, the narrator feels sick and he becomes sick. He is suffering from cold. Tsetan does not know what to do. So immediately what he does is he stops the car and goes to the place close by and brings a physician. Rather he takes the narrator to the maybe the dispensary, so-called hospital, and then he is shown to a doctor there. The doctor, after inspecting him, so after checking him, doctor tells that the narrator might be caught or must be suffering from pneumonia because of the height, altitude. And then he prescribes medicines for 5 days. And then the narrator takes those medicines and he feels better. So when Tsetan says his master is feeling better, he decides to leave him alone and he goes to his place in his car, feeling that, okay, the boss, the narrator is okay, feeling now, all right, so let me go. And then they leave the narrator alone. So the narrator is actually left alone. They reach the place called Darchan. And the narrator is left alone in a sort of a camp, like where many people come and stay there before they start walking towards the Mount Kailash there. Now, as the narrator stays in the place, camp-like thing, he finds himself lonely because there is no one to talk to him in English. There is no one to communicate with him in English. So he actually feels very lonely and he does not know what to do. So it is at this time he meets a person. He meets a person very fat called Kora Baiding. You will understand, you will come to know the name of the person there. And then he communicates with him, and in the course of their conversation, he comes to know that that particular person also has come there to complete his kora. So both of them, they talk. Of course, they have a lot of cordial conversation between them. It's nice to read. So as they begin to continue their journey, they begin to walk there. So this man, since this visitor is very sick, actually that man who becomes a friend to the narrator is actually working in a big place, an institute, and he is also educated as the narrator is also educated. So therefore, both of them, they try to walk to some place, but the fat man, he feels that he is unable to walk because he cannot take his luggage. So what do? They just hire yachts and then put their luggage on them and they just begin to walk. And the narrator feels happy and the story ends there. So that is the story of Silk Road. And here, of course, you will come across many incidents as you read the story. Now, if you look at your book, Hornbill, for your reference, that is the 6th unit, you are asked to go through the lesson with various exercises. So I have given you the answer to each and every question starting from the beginning of the lesson. Now, if you look at the lesson at the beginning, see, it is said, if you look at the book at the beginning, it is said that, see, Silk Road. And before you start the lesson, actually, it is said that notice these expressions in the text and infer their meanings from the context. So infer their meanings from the context. Now, there are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 phrases like thing are given there, and you are asked to infer the meaning. So I have given the meanings of those words. And then once you know the meanings, you would come to understand the concept, rather summary of the story. See what do they say actually here? And they were going from the place called Ravu. They were traveling from Lavu to Mount Kailash. The name of his friend, it means Lhamo. Lhamo. So this is the lady who offers him a sheepskin coat. Okay. And Tsetan, of course, is a driver. So 3 people travel, and that's what I have been telling you. So remember, this is the summary of the story. And of course, this lesson you can see from your book. The lesson is actually written in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 or 10 pages like. So if you read through the lesson, maybe you would feel bored, and so I thought it would be good that if I give you the answers to each of those questions, including the reference of the meanings in the beginning of the lesson. So what I have done for you is that I will show you each and every exercise and the answers. Maybe I will read the answers here and there so that it will be easy for you to understand. Okay, now if you just go through after the lesson, these are the various titles with which you are asked to go through the answers. And see now, this is the beginning of the story. And where you have asked to refer the meaning. See, for example, look at this, refer the meaning. Okay, just listen to it, just go through it. Now what have they given there? They are asked you to infer the meaning. So as you go through them, you will find out what are those words stand for. For example, ducking back. He is going inside very quickly and then coming out. So I am not going to explain the meaning of all those words, but as you see them through the papers, you can read and go through. So what I have done after the answers of those small phrases like thing, I have given you the summary. So I have given you the summary here. See, just go through the summary. Okay, I hope it is visible. So that is the first page of the summary, and the summary is continued here, the second page. You see, the summary is continued in the second page. So you can just slow down and you can read the summary slowly. Okay, so you read the summary, and then we are going to move into the exercises for our reference, and it will be easy for you to understand and answer those questions. So we will start from the that is given on page number 67. We will start from the exercise called understanding the text. See, understanding the text. So all these come one by one. So what I have done is I have prepared the answers to each and every question of these exercises, and I'll show you. Maybe I'll discuss one or two here and there so that it will be easy for you to understand. See, understanding the text. See, understanding the text in the sense here, see, give reasons. You are asked to give reasons for the following statements. The first statement they have given here is, the article has been titled Silk Road. So this is the first question. The article has been titled as Silk Road. So what is the reason? How are you going to answer this question? See, the answer that I have prepared for this question is that Silk Road was one of the most important routes for trades in history, as I have told you in the introductory part of this video. And it is connected actually in Eastern Asia to the rest of Eurasia. And then many ideas, goods and inventions were diffused along the Silk Road. So that's what it says. Moreover, the road was very famous for silk trade with China. And then, as per this article is concerned, the author wishes to complete his kora in Mount Kailash. So he uses this Silk Road for his pilgrimage. Therefore, it is named as Silk Road. See? So that is the answer that you can just read through for the first question. Okay? Alright, so that would be the answer for the first question. So the second question they have given for you to give reason is that Tibetan Mastiffs were popular in China's imperial courts. Not counts actually, it is courts I think, yes. Imperial courts, C-O-U-R-T-S. So I think that is misspelled here as counts. So I will read the answer for you here. So Tibetan Mastiffs, I told you at the beginning itself, Mastiffs are nobody except the dogs, the hunting dogs used by the police those days to discover, investigate various mistakes done by the culprits or criminals. Okay, so mastiffs were huge and they are black dogs. They are black dogs and they were used as watchdogs. Not only that, they were very popular in China's imperial courts as hunting dogs. So they were actually used for hunting, and they were brought along Silk Road as tributes from Tibet. Okay, and they looked terrible and exploded into actions like bullets. So when they were asked to do their job, they acted very quickly like bullets. That's what he said. And they were furious and fearful. So just you can read through the answer for the second question. Okay, see. All right. So that there comes the second question. Now we'll go to the third one in understanding the text. Third one, what have they given you to infer the meaning and give reasons? The author's experience at Hor was stark contrast to earlier accounts of the place. Now Hor is the place where they went and had chats with the tribes. It is a place where they were able to find these dogs and other small shepherds where they were looking after their sheep. See, as the narrator mentioned in the article, Hor, H-O-R, Hor was a grim and a miserable place. It is a miserable place. And he says the roads were full of dust and rocks were scattered everywhere, very difficult to drive. And there was very little vegetation. So you could understand very much. If there are rocks, and how can you grow vegetation there? So it's very obvious there. And the place looks very dejected. But it was not the same in the past. See, if you listen to the history or if you read the history, when the Silk Road was used as often as possible for trade and business and so on, it was not like that. Since the road was neglected, not used much in the later years, and it became very dusty and the rocks, filled with rocks and so on. And see, and there is a reason for that. They say it's a Japanese monk named Hekai Kawakushi visited the place in 1990 and was moved by the sanctity of the lake Manasarovar. That's the name of the river there. And now the only relaxation that the author or the narrator experienced was the cup of tea served by the Chinese youths in the cafe. See? And the narrator enjoyed the tea to some extent. That's all. So, to that extent, the place called Hor has become dejected and not used by many people. So, that is the reason the author felt very miserable to stay in that place for a long time. See, the author's experience at Hor was stark contrast to earlier accounts. Stark contrast means it was used as a big trade business road earlier, but now it is no more like that. So that is the beauty of it. And then the fourth answer that you are supposed to give reasons for that is the author was disappointed with the Tachan. Tachan is yet another place where you would come across. And the author was very much disappointed with Tachan. It is because of the altitude that gave him health problems. And he suffered from heavy cold and was not able to sleep well that night. So as he was one of the pioneer pilgrims of the season, the place looked very quiet and silent. See, the place was dirty and punctuated by heaps of rubbles, dusty. It is not dirty, but dusty. I will just check it. Dusty. The place was very dusty. Okay. Dusty. So you can just look at the answers given to those questions. And then after reading the answer to the fifth information, I will show you the paper. The fifth statement that they are given for you to give reason is that the author thought that the positive thinking strategy worked well after all. What was the positive strategy? Author was disappointed in Tachan in the beginning because he had nobody to communicate with him in English. And then he felt lonely, he suffered ill health. The driver and his friend Daniel left him. He was dejected, and it was at this time he met a man called Nobu. That's the name of the fat man, Nobu. A Tibetan who was fat and who had come there to complete his kora, like the narrator. So after talking to him, the narrator was relaxed and shared with him many of his experiences, and he became happy the strategy of thinking positive under certain circumstances. So that was the reason. See? So you can just go through the three statements that is given and then the answer that I have prepared. Okay? Just go through one by one. All right. So there ends the understanding of the text. Now, if you look at your book, another second exercise that you are supposed to do is briefly comment on various statements they are given here. Briefly comment. So you are asked to write your own opinions of what you have understood from reading the story, Silk Road. So like that. So briefly comment on. There are about 5 questions we are given there. And then the first one they are given you is that the purpose of author's journey to Mount Kailash. You know the answer very well already. You know the answer. What is the answer? What is the purpose of the author or the narrator to visit Kailash? Is to complete his kora. So that's what I have written here. The purpose of author's journey to Mount Kailash was to complete his kora. Moreover, he was an adventurer and an educationist. So he was a professor, an educationist, and he may have wanted to investigate or discover something about Mount Kailash and also the Silk Road that was used earlier as a trade business. So he may have wanted to explore his knowledge about Mount Kailash by traveling through the Silk Road. So that is the first question that you are given the answer. See, this is the answer for the first question. Just read it. Okay, and then we move on to the second one. What's the second one there? The author's physical condition in Tsetan. So when I was telling you the summary of the experience, I told you the author narrator had a very bad experience. The place called Tsetan. Why? Because when the author reached Tsetan, he suffered cold and felt physically unfit, and he could not sleep well at that night, and he became well only after he was taken to the doctor. And the doctor suspected that the narrator may have been affected by pneumonia. Therefore, he prescribed medicines for 5 days, and it is said that he had sound sleep after meeting the doctor and became normal. Okay, so that's the answer for the statement that you are asked to give the answer, which is the author's physical condition in Tsetan. And number 3, the author's meeting with Nobu. Very, very interesting experience. The author meeting with Nobu. During the journey to Mount Kailash, Daniel, the friend of the author, left him at Lhasa. See, Lhasa, not Lhasa, Lahasa. So Lahasa, and the driver Tsetan left him in Tsetan. So both of them had gone already. So leaving the narrator alone for his kora to be completed in Mount Kailash. So the author became lonely. He reached Tsetan early, and so there were only a few who were there. But the author could not find anyone there to talk to until he met Nobu. Nobu communicated with the author in English, which made him feel better and happy. So he also had gone there to complete his kora. Nobu was fat and found difficult to walk along with his luggage, so they hired yaks to carry their luggage. So the author considered Nobu as an ideal. So as an ideal companion. Okay? Find anyone in the place. Okay, so that is that question there. Next statement, what they have given is that Satan's support to the author during the journey. How did he support the narrator? Of course, he was the one who hired Satan to drive him to Mount Kailash. But the support given by Tsetan was extraordinary. Why? Because when he became sick, it is he who took him to the dispensary or the hospital, and then helped him to find the doctor and get him well there. So Tsetan was a good and efficient driver, and it was he who suggested the Silk Road to be used to travel to Mount Kailash. He drove the car carefully. But when the author suffered cold in Tsetan, he was the one who took the author to the doctor for treatment. And he was very considerate and hospitable towards the author. So he left the author after he witnessed the better condition of the author. The author was left safe or felt safe under the guidance of Satan. And then the fifth one and the last one here. See, as a Buddhist, he told me he knew that it did not really matter if I passed away, but he thought it would be bad for business. Now, this is the very, very appropriate statement said by the driver. See, now what does it say? Satan was a pious Buddhist. We all know that. And he believed that the death was not at the end of his life. And he believed that if he visited Kailash, it would take him to heaven. Of course, he made use of the opportunity provided to him by the author, that of driving him to Mount Kailash through Silk Road. And when he reached Tsetan, he was worried about the condition of the author, because he was feeling very, insecure. Because if the author had died on half of the way, on the way. And it was he who he felt, he who will have to take the responsibility. So he was very much afraid and frightened. And he thought if the author died there, it would be very bad for his business and his credibility will be under question. He looking after the tourists later and that he may not get any customer. Usual fear of any drivers, because the business of drivers like these places is to take the tourists and show them safely and then bring them back. If something happens in the middle of the journey and they would question who was the driver, and if he was caught by somebody, he would have gone and answered the police, and then all sorts of negotiations and dealings will have to be done there. And if the person is no more, it would be a terrible disaster for the person who took him. So Tsetan was feeling a very inferior and also fearful, at the same time very sad also. But fortunately, the narrator became all right. So these are the three questions, 1, 2, 3, 4. So from question number 2 to 5, it is given there. You just go through it, the answer. Okay? I'll just show you slowly. Of course, you can always make a pause and then read the answers very carefully. So there ends the second part of the exercise. And then we move on to talking about the text. Talking about the text. And there are 3 questions they are given for you to discuss. Discuss in groups of 4. Of course, you may not have the opportunity to discuss in the classrooms, but it is good that you know the answers to those questions also. So, what is the first statement that you are asked to discuss? The sensitive behavior of hill folk. Hill folk is nobody except the group of people. They lived in the island or the place where they had to witness a lot of fear because of the dog there. And they were, of course, if you talk about the people of hillsides, basically they are very religious and God-feared people. So the hill folk are usually innocent and simple. They are basically hardworking and religious. For example, they will be hospitable like Tsetan, who helped the author when he was sick in Tibetan. See? And the second one, the reason why people willingly undergo the travels of difficult journeys. So this could be one of the questions that may arise in every one of your minds. Every one of your minds. Because many people would not believe in this kind of journeys, pilgrimages. But there are certain people who believe that this kind of journeys, pilgrimage to holy places might be the chances for them to get penance, for them to get their sins forgiven, or for them to get their mistakes taken away from them by God, to whom they usually pray. So that's why we have number of reasons, we have number of examples that we could give. And in our own culture, we know that there are thousands and thousands of people visit so many places depending upon the seasons. Every season we have certain gods and goddesses to be worshipped and adored, and people make a lot of journeys through walking and maybe taking special journeys there. So people who are pious and God-fearing believe that if they undertake these kinds of difficult journeys, God would hear their prayers and petitions. See? And they believe that these pious practices may be the way to get their needs done from their gods. At the same time, these practices would be of great assistance. These practices would be of great assistance to persons like the narrator in the lesson, and they would come to know more about the places. Okay. And the third one, the accounts of exotic places in legends and the reality. Great writers would love to write about these historical places like Mount Kailash and the importance of especially important places like Silk Road. There had been many articles written about these kinds of places, and they are exotic. And this is natural for the writers to give some information about new places and the places often visited by people. Okay, so for that reason you are asked to discuss 3 questions in your group to find out various thinking of these kind of questions in their own minds, and maybe to think for your own selves whether the practices done of this chart is of use or of no use. So shall we move on to the next one? Next one is thinking about language. Thinking about language. So before we go into that, I will just show you the answers for those 3 discussions that you may come across. This is what I have thought would be good. See, just go through. All right. And we go on to thinking about language, which is very important. Thinking about language. Here, of course, you are given about how many? About 3 questions. Yes, about 3 questions, which is very, very important for your examination point of view. The first one they have asked the question is that notice the kind of English that Tsetan uses while talking to the author. Now, how do you think he picked it up? See, there are certain ways various people of tribes or various tribes of people, they have a special connotation, way of communicating with people, depending upon the location, depending upon the circumstances, depending upon the community in which they live. And here, of course, if you notice the dialogues or conversation done between the narrator and the driver Tsetan, it's very, very natural on his point of view. So that's what you are asked to pick up. So notice the kind of English. Notice the kind of English. See, notice the kind of English. See, this is what I have prepared. Since Tsetan is a driver who often helps the tourists, assisting them to visit important places like Mount Kailash. Mount Kailash would have been one of those places he would have taken tourists who wished to visit such places by car. So in this way, Tsetan would have had a lot of opportunities to learn, to speak the various dialects and style of speaking according to the place. So the author, on the other hand, may have had opportunity to talk to people like Tsetan. So that could be the answer there. Okay. And then second one, what do the following utterances indicate? There are 2 or 3 instances they have given here. I told her through Daniel. So this information actually is said by the narrator himself, referring to the gift presented by the girl to the narrator. So the lady who offered sheepskin coat to the author may have been a close friend of the author. So she may not have heard. She may not have had sufficient knowledge in English. So the author would have requested his friend Daniel to inform the lady that they would be traveling to Mount Kailash through Silk Road. Out of respect and concern, the lady would have given him, or lady would have offered him. There's so many mistakes. Sorry for that. So offered him sheepskin coat to be safe in snow-covered mountains. You see? All right. And then there is one more there. It is a cold, he said, finally through Tsetan. This is the statement made by What is that? The doctor. See, it is a cold. Because doctor also must have spoken the local dialect. The doctor in Taichen would have spoken in Tibetan language, which may not have been translated to the author in English, which may have been translated to the author in English. See, the doctor suspected that the author may have had cold due to the effects of altitude. So he prescribed him few medicines, and the author had a sound sleep and became normal again. Okay, so that is the answer to the third question. The third one, you are given the few words to find the meanings. Guess the meanings of the following words. Kora. Kora is, of course, I have already told you. Kora is nothing but walking all the way to a pilgrim place. It's a pilgrimage. And then Dropa. See, Dropa is a shepherd. And then Kyam. It's a wild Tibetan ash. And so you can just read the answer for those questions. Okay. See. So all these are very useful. And then next exercise, it is working with words. Okay, working with words. There you are given two. The narrative has many phrases to describe the scenic beauty of the mountains slide. Of course, it is true because they travel through the Silk Road, which is covered with a lot of snow and rocks, dust, and so on. So you are asked to answer this question. The narrative has many phrases. One of the narratives is that a flawless half moon floated in a perfect blue sky. What does it mean? The river was wide. Okay, the river was wide. The river was wide and mostly clogged with ice. Because when you look at the river in the snow-covered places, usually the river would be very chill and cold, and it will be full of ice. And white and glinting. Glinting means shining. Glinting in the sunshine. It was marked by a large column of rocks with silk scarves and ragged prayer flags. So that is the scene that they have given in the narration, and which looked very attractive to the eyes of people who travel by those places there. Okay. And then explain the uses of the adjectives in the following phrases. There are about 5 adjectives you are given there. What is that? Shaggy monsters. Shaggy. Shaggy is your adjective there. Monsters, it's a fearful physical appearance of the Tibetan Mastiffs, referring to that hunting dogs. Okay. The next one, brackish lakes. Brackish lakes means the salty lakes in Tibetan plateau. All those lakes that are found in Tibet, they will be very salty. And rickety table, an old rugged table that was almost shattered. And a hairpin bend. Hairpin bend, it's a physical resemblance to a hairpin. They can be found in mountain roads. And then finally you have rudimentary general stores. They are actually like super stores that we have. General stores selling only the basic consumer goods. Okay, so just go through this. Just go through them for your reference. Okay, Park. All right. Good. Then we move on to the last one. Last one is nothing but talking about the things to do. What is that? Yes. Kora, working with words. So I think with that we stop here, because the rest of the thing that you are capable of doing that. So I think you would be very much in line with what I have discussed with you about in terms of this lesson here called Silk Road, written by who the author is Nick Middleton. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoy the video. I discussed everything in a detailed manner along with the question and answer that is given to you in line with the prose there. So just for your reference, if you want any answers, you can just watch the video completely and read the summary. If you want, I can show you the summary once again. If you want, I can show you the summary once again, so that it will be easy for you to get note of the gist of the place. Okay, just I will show you the summary. Let's go through the summary once again. See. So with this you will understand better. With this you will understand better. See, that's the continuation of the summary here. Good. So my dears, this is what I wanted to discuss with you in this video. Silk Road, written by Nick Middleton. And of course, I explained to you everything in English. Since you are all English medium students, my English would have been very simple, so you could easily understand and go through the answers that I discussed with you, and go through the book and read each and every line. Because for your kind of information, questions may be asked even inside the lesson, and the knowledge would be very, very higher to comparing to other students. And this is not only for CBSC students. Remember, this is not only for CBSC students, but all those who are interested, in knowing about Silk Road and where is this located, what is happening to these kind of places nowadays. All these informations are very much good to know for our competitive kind of examinations. Okay, and then especially know the names of the author and the title that is given to you. So the reason for the author to give title as Silk Road is mainly because to bring out the significance of the road which was used as a pathway for the trade. And of course, Silk Road is one of the ways to reach Mount Kailash, which was taken by the narrator with the help of the driver Tsetan, and then they reach the place, and then you would understand what would have happened there. So this is what the video is all about, my dears. So hope you enjoy the video. Watch the video till the end, and continue to subscribe my channel. And in the course of coming days, I have decided to discuss with you the writing skills, because you are given a lot of writings. You have been given a lot of writing skills there. Note making, summarizing, all those things are given there. So one by one I'll just go through in order for you to get a clear-cut information about each of those exercises, so that it will be easy for you to face any kind of examinations and answer any questions. Okay, so until then, it's Louis Das signing you off from English Easy Louis channel. Continue to watch my channel, continue to subscribe. Thank you for watching my channel till the end. Thank you. God bless you, my dears.